everyone. Welcome to another Ask the Practitioner session. We're excited to be here, and we're going to be kicking off the holiday season in 2024 and looking forward to all the things to come for 2025. I'm here with Dr. Beba. She's one of my colleagues here at Sage Integrative Health. I'm Dr. Wendy Romig, for those of you who don't know me. And we are trying to have these Ask the Practitioner sessions on a regular basis. So we encourage you to join in and certainly send us your questions as they come in. So Dr. Babe, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how was your holidays so far?
Oh, it was great. Feeling connected with the family, friends. I think holidays about sharing and growing together. And I love that's the end of the year, where you kind of go over all your achievements, like physically, emotionally, mentally, and then get ready for the next year. So it was a beautiful time. Thank you.
Great,
So
great.
a little bit about me. I'm a doctor of clinical nutrition, as Dr. Romig has mentioned, and I have been working on this field for a long time, first as a health coach, then a nutritionist. And I love working with my patients on digestive issues, chronic health conditions. I work with a variety of conditions and through the lifespan as well. I do have 19-year-old, 17 to 19-year-old patients, where I also have 80-year-old patients, and health management and reversal of some of the conditions, and getting healthier and maintaining our body is possible at any age. And I always tell my patients that I teach them how their bodies work and the principles, so they have the tools to go forward, so they don't rely on like everybody, or on costly or more intensive tools if they do the wellness management early on.
Oh, great. Today what we want to chat about is we're coming into the winter, we want to talk about kind of some strategies for how we can tackle the holidays and also holiday cooking, but also winter cold and flu season. And I wanted to dive into a couple of questions that we get a lot in our clinic. And one of them is, coming into the holidays with seasonal cooking. Of course, we love all those delicious meals and all of the good things that, we put into our food that make it yummy and savory. But, from a health perspective, we want to make sure that we're maintaining good, healthy eating through the holidays, at least to some degree. So certainly we'll have some cookies and pie, but do you have any suggestions, especially for like fats? I mean, fats are a big conversation still, and healthy fats are a tough thing. A lot of times we want to maybe just throw some butter in, or just put some cooking oil in. And how do we navigate cooking and food prep to make it savory and yummy and get those healthy fats in there too?
That is one of my favorite topics, actually. I do change the recipes into healthier versions. I think, I love food. I love cooking as well. As a Mediterranean person, I can never go just with the steamed foods. So the fats I prefer to have more for the cooking side, I do cook a lot with avocado oil, or coconut oil, or ghee sometimes for the cooking purposes. But it's also very healthy to saute things with more water and add the oils later on without using, exposing the oils to heat. Um, as a Mediterranean girl, I always love my extra virgin olive oil, but I never cook with it. I always use it on my salads, or after I cook the things. Sometimes I saute the foods and then I drizzle them with the olive oil, and then sometimes I steam the foods, like the Brussels sprouts, or like the broccoli, and then I drizzle with olive oil, some lemon juice, and some garlic as well.
Yeah, I love that. I think those are great suggestions because a lot of times I have patients too that have some gut issues, and or maybe their cholesterol has been creeping up. So there's a couple of reasons why we want to be careful with cooking oils. And it's not to say that I think cooking oils can be, wisely chosen, but certainly I'm a big fan of steam sautés and then doing the drizzle as well. So that's kind of my MO with cooking is maybe steam some broccoli, or I love to drizzle tahini on pretty
Mm,
much everything.
okay.
Tahini is my favorite fat to add to all of my vegetables. And that's a Mediterranean treat
Yep,
too.
it is definitely. And I love that it's a great detoxing agent too. It's like, I love tahini. It's like a good source of fats. Just like, making sure that some of those like sesame oils can like, or like the same thing with the seed oils that can go rancid very quickly. So their storage conditions are very important. And once they smell off, they're definitely not to be consumed.
Yeah, that's a big thing I noticed too is if keeping the nuts and seeds in the pantry and I prefer like nut butters and seed butters over nuts and seeds just because my digestion doesn't take
Yeah.
nuts and seeds, hard nuts and seeds as well as some others might. So I like to just put this, my seed butters especially in the fridge and just kind of keep them good in there. But yeah, so we had a question coming through the chat of why steam sauteing? Well, it's a cooking technique I learned back in my master's degree program. In our master's degree program in nutrition, we were required to take professional cooking classes every single trimester. So I had six professional cooking classes while I was in school, and it was a lot of fun. And I learned this technique called steam sauteing, which was fascinating to me because you're in a saute dish and you're putting some water in there, but then you put the lid on with the
Mm,
water, and it kind of like you're sauteing it in the water,
yeah.
but then you're putting a little extra water and it just kind of steams everything within the saute pan. And then the nice thing about steam saute is you can add stuff to it. Versus when you're in a steamer basket, you kind of just have your steamer basket, everything's kind of isolated. But with a steam saute, you're sauteing things in the water and the steam, and then you can start adding other ingredients in very easily because you're already in a saute pan. So that is one of my favorite issues with my favorite cooking methods for, especially for greens and some of the lighter vegetables. And why do I like to cook with tahini? I actually don't cook with tahini. I actually use it as a dressing. It's very nutritious. It's good, healthy fats. So good protein profile. And nuts do cause inflammation. There is a lot higher omega-9 profile and omega-6 profile with nuts. So they're not bad. Nuts are great, but that's always in moderation. I always say small handful. What
And
do you
then
think, Bibi?
moderation, yeah, moderation may mean different things. I mean, for me, like, that moderation might be a handful for you, like that moderation might be only like maybe tablespoon of nuts. And another thing that we can do with the nuts is I like to soak my nuts, especially
Yeah,
almonds, walnuts. If you
yeah.
soak them overnight, I usually soak them for a couple days, and they're like when you soak, some of the anti-nutrients like phytic acids might be lowered, and also they just like are easier to digest. They're just like crispier and overall tastier. I don't know if you have anybody has tried like the soaked walnuts after 2 days, or almonds. They're like the tastiest thing ever.
Now,
Be
do you,
careful not
after
to
you're done
overcook.
soaking them, now do you actually do a light roast on them after you soak them,
I
or you
don't.
just
I
soak them
don't.
and
I
eat them?
actually just soak them, and what I do is I keep them outside for maybe like for a day. If the weather is cold, like in the winter year, like times, it's okay. But if it's a summertime, after a day, I usually keep them in the fridge in the water.
Oh,
But it's
interesting.
kind of like it's always on my kitchen counter, so like especially if you have like multiple people in the house or like kids, they usually like munching on the things, so there's always some soaked nuts with a spoon inside, so they can just like take some out, and like it's a great snack after school as well.
I like it. I like it. That's great. And recipes that call for nuts, I think it just depends on what the recipe is. It might be soaking them in advance, or maybe you're doing a light roast on them as well, soaking and then roasting. So it just really depends on those
Another
recipes.
another thing is like you can actually soak the almonds and you can blend them. And some people like to actually like put on a cheesecloth and use
Oh
it
yeah.
as the almond milk. And you can actually put the rest on a parchment paper in the oven, and you can actually use those as almond flour. And
Hmm.
a lot of the recipes is so easy to use. If you want to use it right into a recipe, that is great. If you want to keep it, roasting them lightly and drying would be a good way to keep this almond meal.
Yeah, and something a little trick I learned, it's an Ayurvedic trick, is I would soak maybe like 10 almonds and over, at least 12 to 15 hours and then peel them. And then I would put them right in the blender and just whip them up. And I didn't even strain them. Because when you peel them, you're taking the peels off, and they're so soft and creamy from soaking them. You can put them straight into the blender with water and a
Yep.
little pinch of salt, a little pinch of honey, and a little pinch of lemon, or not lemon, of vanilla, and you have like beautiful almond milk just like that without even having to strain them. So
Well, actually, I forgot to mention that. That's a good point. You actually do not even need to peel them. When you hold them, they just like pop right away.
pop, they just
Like,
pop.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're so
Yeah,
good.
after soaking them, they just kind of pop right out.
And
Exactly.
what
Yeah.
I like to do is like turn this drink into almost like an almond nog, like, adding a little bit
Hmm.
of cinnamon and maybe like couple dates inside, and so
Yeah.
beautiful and nutritious. And speaking of, I'm just gonna go back to the tahini. Like, in Turkey, like I'm originally from Turkey, we mix tahini with molasses. So you can have
Ooh.
pig molasses or carob molasses, and it's just like a beautiful dessert combination.
That's nice. I love tahini. I eat it by the spoonfuls. It's so good.
It does.
Definitely, definitely a favorite. So now we're talking about all this delicious holiday stuff, and I want to talk about too in the holidays coming up with immune systems. Like, the weather's changing. Now it's actually really cold here. The weather has gotten pretty chilly. I know I'm walking my dog in the morning. I'm in my gaiter and, ski coat and hat, and it's like 23 degrees out lately with walking. But how do we keep ourselves healthy? Like, what are some other foods specifically that are immune boosting that you've seen and that you recommend?
Um, let's see. What are my go-to foods during that time? I just want to make sure that we are getting our nutrients like, balance. I always like, I do the same thing for myself, for my family, and for recommend to my patients as well. Getting your vitamin D's checked and supplying the vitamin D's when we're deficient is one of the best ways to make sure that our immune system is in a tip-top shape. Whenever in need, I do supplement, again, as needed basis with vitamin C, zinc, sometimes with elderberry if there's like coughs and snizzles here, especially at the school age kids definitely need those, like, that support during that time. I think that will be my go-to ones. I mean, for
Those are
the
your
vitamin
go-tos, yeah.
C, yeah, supplementing or just like, having daily kiwis or like, grapefruit, of course, like, apart from the
Hmm.
medication because it can block the absorption of a lot of medications. Pomegranate is one of my go-to foods, like, during that time. It's like seasonal. It's a beautiful one. Great cardiovascular benefits as well. I don't know. What
Hmm.
about you, Dr. Romik?
Yeah, I mean, some of my favorites, I'm an apple a day kind of gal. I definitely love getting a good daily apple in and recommending, certainly blueberries are, high in antioxidants, they have high vitamin C, getting those dark leafy greens in for all those phytonutrients are really great. And then I love to also look in our cooking spices and roots to see like getting ginger in there.
Oh, yeah,
Ginger, very
ginger.
warming and anti-inflammatory, and it's immune boosting. Cooking with turmeric is another one. So turmeric is really a great spice to put in things. Getting even like for Thanksgiving, what do we use? Like rosemary, sage, thyme. All of those are good antibacterial herbs that can get mixed in with food. So it's even looking at the herbs and the roots that we can cook with to bring the nutrient value up. And of course, I love me a good root stew in the winter months. So getting all those good healthy nutrients from the roots, turnips and sweet potatoes and uh, carrots, ginger, all of those very warming and delicious foods. Getting those in the body as well can be very good for immune boosting efforts.
Yeah, ginger tea is one of my go-to ones, especially for the sore throat. That was a great reminder. It was actually like a regular cure in our house. Like I remember when I was a kid, like the ginger powder and honey was the
Mhm.
paste that my mom used to make and like, feed us whenever somebody had a sore throat in the house. And it was always gone within a day or two.
Yeah, ginger is always a good one. And man, getting a good hand of ginger, just get those fresh roots in there and cut those up and bring them to a boil, let it simmer for, half hour and just get a strong ginger tea that you can dilute and just make some really nice, or you can make a ginger syrup out of that as well with some honey. Um,
Yeah, you know what? Actually, maybe like winter mornings could be energized by some ginger lemon water. This is my
mhm.
go-to morning drink. I like, grate a little bit of ginger in the like those cheese graters, and I squeeze the juice into a lukewarm water, or you can make it warmer, and a half a lemon juice into the water. And this is my morning drink, usually all throughout the winter. It just like boosts your immune juice, like it's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's just super healthy and detoxifying in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, so good. So good. So we got some questions in the chat here about some low glycemic desserts for the holidays. That's a good one actually. And I know I'm a big fan of doing kind of fruit-based things. If you can do anything that's fruit-based with blueberries, making a nice blueberry compote. I love doing like apple compote. We had some family over a couple of weeks ago and we just bought a waffle iron. So we made like these like high protein gluten-free waffles, which were delicious. And then my husband made this amazing apple compote. So just like making things with fruit is always wonderful. And I actually love doing just getting dried dates and putting some like almond butter on them and sprinkling some cinnamon on them. And just maybe that's it, you know.
I love baking during the holidays. Like, again, I would just go with the same trend, like, making a banana bread. And sometimes I mix bananas and apples into a puree and put it in my banana bread. You can actually put some either a little bit of oat flour, or like, if you can do with the nuts, maybe like, some nut flour into that, and it just like it's beautiful. And for the sweetening part, I usually make the dates, puree the dates,
Mhm.
soak them in the
Mhm.
water a little bit. I would say like, maybe 2 hours in hot water would be sufficient, and then turn them into a puree and add it as a sweetener to the cooking, to the baking.
Oh, that sounds so good. One of my favorite holiday. So I'm gluten-free and plant-based, so that always puts me in a box, and it's always tough with holiday events. But I do love. There's a really great apple crisp recipe that I found years ago that's gluten-free, and I love apples. So just having apple crisp with like a little bit of like vegan ice cream or vegan cream with it is delicious. So that's definitely one of my favorite is doing apple crisp it reminds me of the holidays. It's very warming. And actually another recipe that we had found over the years was making a pumpkin. It was a pumpkin like a pudding. It was also vegan, using like a coconut milk with pumpkin puree. And just very lightly seasoned with some cinnamon. So very tasty, very tasty. And just like crush it up. You can make it, crushed nuts, and make a pie crust and just put that in and put it in the fridge and like a pumpkin pie. What's your favorite? Do you have any favorite holiday desserts?
Well, I do have my pecan crusted. I'm gluten free, but I'm not dairy free. So I make the pumpkin cheesecake with like the pecan crust, and like every year before Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving, I make that recipe, and I love it. It's just it kind of like lasts me whole week, and I savor it like one slice a day after Thanksgiving. It's my like dessert. But I also like, I like to bake cookies, like, gluten free. But I also like to do that with a lot of like, as I said, with cinnamon and apples and bananas and blueberries. I love baking.
Yeah, yeah. My husband's the baker in the family. So I rely on him. This is great. And so I think lastly, just kind of to round out the discussion, I want to switch gears for a minute and talk about immune boosting remedies like herbs and things like and supplements. We talked about vitamin C and vitamin D. What about any other things that people can take to keep their immune system strong going into the winter? Anything you suggest?
Um, yeah, like I'm thinking like, maybe echinacea. Uh,
Hmm.
like, they can use echinacea. I know that like, Dr. Romig as an herbalist does not recommend like, like regular use of some of the herbs, and echinacea is one of them, right? Like you do
Hmm.
recommend not over, I do remember that, like not over 14 days.
Yep, yep, exactly. So I do think, we don't want to push the immune system too hard. Any kind of immune booster can tip us to the other side. So we have to be really careful with immune boosters. But echinacea is a really good one. I like echinacea. It's so simple and it's become so normal. People, that even aren't very familiar with natural remedies, it's become more of a common go-to remedy for people that are for cold and flu season to just get like an immune booster, supplement that includes echinacea or astragalus. Reishi mushroom, the mushroom families are all really good for immune boosters as well. Again, all of these are used judiciously just for a shorter period of time. But I do love all of those immune boosters coming into the holidays. And it's how you're in family gatherings, people who got the sniffles and this and that. And and the same thing for viruses. So many of the things that are zipping around during the holidays are viral. It's usually the cold and flu season is a viral season. So we're looking at just boosting our immune system to be able to identify the virus and just get rid of it. Um, yeah.
Yeah, you can go targeted, or like, my usually like, around that time. Again, from the Mediterranean part, like oregano. Like, I
Oh,
love
yeah.
it's like, you can have like not necessarily the oregano oil. That's like really hard to palate. But adding oregano to all my dishes is usually my immune boosting one. Again, like, if you feel like things are going around, like, garlic, I start adding garlic to
Hmm.
everything. So
Hmm.
garlic and oregano might be the two things that I use a lot in
Hmm.
my cooking.
Yeah, oregano is a really great herb. It's has really strong antibacterial qualities to it. So it's and I do oil of oregano capsules, and I recommend that to patients as well. But the oregano it's a great herb because it's known for its antiviral, antibacterial qualities. It's anti-inflammatory. So it's been well studied, and it's why it's kind of become part of the canon, the recommendation set that a lot of more holistic practitioners use for cold and flu season. Oregano oil, or just oregano in general, is because it's been highly studied and it does have all of these different qualities, the antibacterial, antifungal, immune boosting characteristics of specifically oregano oil. Thyme does too. Rosemary and thyme also have those qualities. So they're all kind of in that same family. But yeah, oregano just kind of has been pulled out of that,
No,
isolated for.
one thing that we always note to our patients is like, when we are using those herbals, like, in our cooking, or like, in our foods, that is great. But once we go into the extracts, or like, the oils, they're very strong and potent. And we always like need to be very careful about their usage. So we don't want to underdo or overdo them. So working with a practitioner and like, asking your nutritionist is very crucial there. So we don't want you to overtreat, or like, create another imbalance in the body trying to correct one thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has been a great discussion, Dr. Babe. I'm really glad we had a chance to chat today. We got some questions from the audience. So we're going to put this up online. Please remember sageintegrativehealth.com. That's our website. You can schedule 15-minute free phone consultations there with our team. And Dr. Beba is available to meet. She is specialty in gut health, chronic health issues, women's hormonal issues. She works with teens. And she's great to work with in general. So definitely feel free to get on her calendar with a 15-minute phone call. And everyone have a wonderful holiday, have a wonderful start to 2025, and look forward to more of these Ask the Practitioner sessions. So we'll be signing off and we'll see you all soon. Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye bye.
Bye.